Data types and variables by Airslin.
How does a computer store data? Look inside your computer. You should find a few things, such as the memory. The memory is like a cabinet with multiple drawers. Each drawer has its own address, from 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. And each drawer can only hold one 8-bit binary data. For example, you can store the number 98 to memory.
To store a 8-bit binary number, it will require a drawer and can store decimal numbers from 0 to 255. To store a 16-bit binary number, it will require two drawers and can store decimal numbers from 0 to 65, 535. To store a 32-bit binary number, it will require four drawers and can store decimal number from 0 to 4,294,967,296. To store a 64-bit binary, it will require 8 drawers and can store decimal numbers from 0 to I do not even know how to say number. Let Google do it for me.
18,446,744,709,551,615.
Data types. Computers are mainly used to process the following two types of data: numerical data and text data. Numerical data type are numbers. It includes integers, floating point numbers, and Boolean values.
In C, integer number include
signed and unsigned integer. The data type of signed integer include char, int, 8-bit, 16-bit, 32-bit, and 64-bit int. The data type of unsigned integer include unsigned char, unsigned int, unsigned 8-bit, 16-bit, 32-bit, and 64-bit int. What is the difference between signed and unsigned integers? An unsigned integer can hold a large positive value and no negative value. Signed integers can hold both positive and negative numbers. In C, float and double are floating point data type. The float is a 32-bit binary form floating number, and the double is a 64-bit binary floating number. Boolean variable consists of the 1 bit of data. 0 means false. 1 means true. In C, the char data type contains a single character enclosed in a single core. C does not have a data type for string. The string is defined as an array of characters and enclosed in double cores. There are still some data types defined in C. For signed and unsigned integer, they are short, long, and long. For floating point number, it is long, double. You can check them in the textbook and then see their difference. Variables. Variables are used to store data. For example, let's define a variable for age. The data is stored in the memory. The variable age points to the location in the memory. Here we assume that the number 18 is assigned to the variable age. The number will be stored in the memory pointed by the variable age. Naming variables. Each variable has a name.
Just like how you would name your puppy.
Variable name in C++ follows certain rules. Name can only include letter, lowercase a to z, uppercase a to z, digits 0 to 9, and underscore. Maybe as long as you like, but only the first 31 characters are significant. Names are case sensitive. Do not begin with the number. No space is allowed in the variable name.
Cannot be a C reserved word.
Here is a list of C keywords. C is case sensitive. Here we list some different ways to write area. They are all seen as different variables by the compiler. Naming conventions.
Most software industries follow the following naming conventions. Create meaningful names are self-explanatory and easy to read.
When used multiple words as a name, underscore or uppercase can be used to separate the word. Avoid doing this because it is difficult to read. These variable names are acceptable. Minimize the use of abbreviations in name, except for well-known names. For example, you can abbreviate the number as NUM. Define a variable name for a number of students attending CSULA. The first item is not recommended because it could represent almost anything. Avoid non-standard abbreviation, as TDS can be short for anything. CSULA is likely a well-known abbreviation, so it does not cause a problem. Declare a long variable name may make subsequent statement hard to read. Use all lowercase for local variables. For a global variable, start the name with the capital letter. Use all uppercase for constant variables. Declaring variables. Before you use a variable, you must first declare it. For example, I want to declare integer school. The int is the data type. The school is the variable name. The compiler will assign a memory space for the variable school. Variable may be given initial value when declared. For example, if you declare integer length with the initial value of 7, the compiler will place the 7 in assigned memory space for length. Similar, if you declare float diameter and give it the initial value of 5.9, the compiler will store the 5.9 to the memory space allocated for diameter. If you are declaring a character variable ch with an initial value of w, the compiler will store w as 87. The reason for this is because ASCII code for the character w is 87 in decimal. If we declare a variable without an initial name, value, the value will be unknown, because without an initial value, the value in memory is unknown.